Morning, how are you, ma'am?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Doing well, thank you.
Anywhere you want to sit. Yes, ma'am. I'm official now.
What's that? That's right, you are now on the team. Let's get these young boys fed so we can start our meeting.
Great. How are you? Did you get my email?
Yes.
Good morning. Hey. Nice to meet you. Oh, good. I'd love to. And I've seen when y'all's meetings were, and I went, I don't know. I know I'm not supposed to attend those, but anything I can do to help you is I'd love to know what's going on.
Y'all ready?
Thank you.
Got what you need? Test, are these on?
You got your name.
Steve, can you hear us? Okay.
They shortened my name. Sarah Lynn, y'all shortened my name.
What did they?
Shortened my name.
And then just stuck it over something.
I guess so.
Test, we okay? All right. I will call to order the special call meeting Saturday, January 23rd. The time is now 9:05 a.m. We will proceed to the agenda and ask Ms. Sarah Lynn to conduct a roll call, please.
Councilman Brock,
Present.
Councilman Barnes,
Present.
Mayor Franklin,
I'm here.
Councilman Slim Griffin,
Here.
Councilman Larry Griffin.
All right. And Sarah Lamb, was the notification and posting of the meeting agenda completed in accordance with state law? Thank you. Gentlemen, before you is today's agenda, which has one item, the strategic planning workshop, and that followed by adjournment. Be looking for a motion to approve today's agenda.
Motion to approve. Second.
It's been probably motioned and seconded to approve the agenda as written. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The motion passes. Thank you. Please join Councilman Ballman for the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation today.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If y'all join me in prayer. Our Father and our God, I just come to you this morning, Father, just giving you thanks for who you are. Father, I do thank you for the many blessings you bestow upon us. Father, I call on your presence here today as we discuss the business and the moving forward of this your town. Father, I just pray your protection upon our nation. Pray for our leaders. Father, I pray for all those that are serving us right now abroad and at home to keep us free. Father, please protect our public servants, our firemen, policemen that are out on the streets today. Again, just be with us, guide and direct all that we say and do, and may all that we say and do bring honor and glory to you. In Jesus' name I pray.
All right, before we continue, I would just like the council members to address the audience if they'd like to, starting with Councilman Brock.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have any prepared remarks, so I will just pass it over to Councilman Ballman on my left.
Thank you. I just want to welcome everybody coming out on a chilly Saturday morning. I'd be remiss if I didn't look to my right over here and wish our distinguished Park Director, Steve Hasterock, a happy birthday tomorrow.
I
Absolutely.
didn't know that. Okay, that's great.
And that's it, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Sloan Griffin.
Yes, good morning to everyone. Thank you for joining us, and we hope that we appease and accomplish the tasks ahead of us today. So thank you all again. I yield my time, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Larry Griffin, joining us from Zoom today.
Good morning, good morning. Just want to say good morning to everybody. I can't see the audience who's there, but it's a pleasure just to be able to talk with you. Don't have much to say. Ready to rock and roll. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and likewise, I'd say happy birthday to Miss Hazel Kelly, also celebrated a birthday here recently, a couple weeks back, and Steve Hesterock tomorrow, so make your contribution to him on the way out. Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for coming and spending your Saturday mornings here to come see us and assist us with this critical process. As many of you know, Blythewood does things well. We react very well to current events. And so to add on that, to make us more efficient, I wanted to lead a strategic planning workshop to allow us to articulate to the citizens of Blythewood what it is we find important, what it is we're going to do as far as objectives to meet our vision, and all that will tie into the mission of Blythewood, which we will determine today. So the takeaway from today and the intent is to establish a mission, vision, objectives to meet the vision, and the values of Blythewood, so that as we move into the budget season in the spring and we allocate taxpayer dollars, that those monies are following that logic. We are funding the things we value, which meet our objectives, which will help us accomplish our 2 to 3 year vision. So that's the purpose today. We had some AV difficulties, I apologize, but I will send these slides. What I'm going to talk about today, and allow the council members to speak and any citizen in the audience to speak. This is from the Municipal Elected Officials Institute of Government, part of the Municipal Association of South Carolina, and they provide a training class called Visioning, Strategic Planning, and Goal Setting. So that'll be the mode I follow today to keep us on track. So why do we have strategic planning sessions as governments? Because highly effective councils think about and plan for the future. They establish vision and well-defined strategic priorities. They define results to be achieved. They empower their employees to produce those results. They maintain relationships with residents and business leaders that instill confidence in the council's leadership. And lastly, they demonstrate stewardship for the city's future and provide leadership that ensures the actions taken today produce the desired future end state. So that's, in a nutshell, what we're here to do today. Very interactive. At any point in time, if you want to make a comment or suggestion or what have you, just let me signify to me, and I will certainly address you so that we can get your valued opinions. Same with online, Sarah Lynn. If you hear of anybody who's watching us on YouTube live, let us know, and we'll do that. So the challenges to this process are that there are simultaneous realities. There are two of them: the here and now, what we're doing right now, and of course the future, what we anticipate is coming, and how we can posture ourselves to deal with those future issues. Also, you invite the public to these events because how else would you really know what the people want from the municipal government? Often we get attendees, we get citizens that come to our council meetings. They are either disgruntled or upset with some action, and that's totally understandable. But today is opposite. This is the positive feedback where the citizens say, this is what we need to do in Blythewood. This is the direction we see our town in the future. And council, we're holding you accountable to meet those ends. Effective leaders always have a strategic perspective as opposed to operational. Our town employees are the employees who execute the day-to-day tasks that make our municipality run. The council should have that strategic perspective, looking around the corner, looking into the future 5 years from now, and where does Blythewood stand in relation to all the exterior, the external influences that we have, development going on in our rural community, new schools being built, population tripling in the last 10 years. How do you react to those? Infrastructure improvements, and we'll talk more about those as we go. What is a strategic plan? It's a roadmap used to determine where the city is and where it wants to go. It's a primary method to align all your resources with planned initiatives to ensure decision-making is consistent, rational, efficient, and effective. It's a living document. It's updated regularly. As I said on the outset, I would like to do a 2-year plan today, begin that planning, and then every year after, assess and change and add to that plan. Having said that, if you have a 2-year plan, how do you know you're meeting your goals? You have to have a quarterly feedback assessment, which we will do at town council meetings and planning commission meetings. It's referred to daily, so you ask yourselves, as elected officials and as a town employee, what am I doing physically right now for the town of Blythewood, and how does that fit into an objective, which fits into a vision, which fits into the goals of Blythewood? If you're not on that logic line and you're not functioning to do those steps, then you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing for the town of Blythewood. So everything this council does and our employees do should immediately line to that line of effort that's in the strategic plan. Again, that's why we're doing that here today. Why do we do strategic planning? One more time. Because each member of council may have a different personal or professional agenda. Again, if you're not pulling the wagon with a rope, all of us in the same direction, we're all pulling in different directions, the wagon's not going to move. It serves as a compass to check what you're doing and how it affects in the outcome of the town's goals. With a properly prepared plan, the focus is on accomplishing all the agreed upon objectives that we talk about today. So, in short, the council focuses on the ends to be achieved, and the staff focuses on the means to get there. So it gets us all on the same page. So what is a vision? It's what we hope to be or become. What is a goal? It's a statement of what we intend to accomplish. What is an objective? It's how we intend to go about accomplishing that goal. And the task is the specific project or activity that you work on day to day to accomplish those goals. So, first things first, we agree on the process. This happens in a work session with key staff present and citizens present. We have Mr. Rich McKenrick, the chairman of our planning commission, also here. And we have committed to him that we will do quarterly joint planning town council meetings, and the first of which will be the meeting in February. I believe February 1st, is that right, sir? Where we, at the first onset part, the council and the planning commission talk to one another, then the council departs and the planning commission does their normal routine duty. Everyone has to be educated on what strategic planning is and how it's done. I pretty much covered that. The value to the organization and the community is you will have something back in writing, be published in the newspaper. Citizens will see when they move here, or long-term citizens who spent their lives here will see the direction that Blythewood's heading, so they can also bring their valuable input. Hey, I can do that. I know who to talk to help you with that, and we come together and become more efficient, as I said in the beginning. So let's start by saying, to define goal setting, we set goals assuming the city is successful in addressing its mission. So you have your mission, your vision, your values, which I'm getting ready to get up to the board here and start taking notes. A vision to your goal is a very short route. So each vision that you establish for the community, you may have 2 or 3 major objectives, which are also goals. And then we have our monthly meetings, and we have our staff weekly work schedules that all align. So an example here from the Municipal Association is a goal is to provide, improve, and maintain quality streets, sidewalks, and stormwater systems. That goal cannot stand alone because it doesn't tell you why you do that. So look forward to the vision. The vision is we have modern infrastructure for our expanding population at Blythewood, and it feeds into the vision, which is Blythewood provides a community of a functioning community which instills and provides value to the citizens of the town. So it all nests itself. So I will jump ahead and then we'll get to talking. So we agree on a planning process. We identify goals that are external to the community as well as internal to our operation. We establish objectives that address the goals. We summarize them in a vision statement. We develop a work plan. We establish benchmarks. When are we going to report back to the people? We add time frames, and we finalize the written plan. Lastly, we address procedures for monitoring and reporting, which will come through the town council. So what I want to do now is turn into a brainstorming session as the recommended step. And I spoke with former Mayor Mike Ross earlier today, and I believe in the newspaper, there were a list of 25 items that I had collected over the first year of being mayor here in Blythewood. There were items that were long-term, some were short-term, some are just good ideas, some are something that you may adamantly disagree with. All that's okay. But what I wanted to do is start the conversation with telling you what citizens have talked to me about, what I have thought about, what I have heard my fellow council members talk about they would like to see. And I put that in a list. Of course, it got emailed around. I wanted all the board members to have it, and Ms. Ball put it in the newspaper, and I think you've seen it. I think former Mayor Ross brought it with him today. So I wanted to address those points first, then solicit your opinions and the councilman's opinions, and then we need to sort and organize. Which of those are big objectives that need to, 4 or 5 of those, which are medium-term objectives, and which are something small that won't take a lot of effort. And I'll give you some examples of those as we get there. So having said that, Mayor Ross, you had a question, former Mayor Ross, you had a question about one of those items. Would you like to ask that again for the public? Okay. Absolutely, and this way I can clarify, and someone else may have. Yes, sir.
Right here is okay?
Yes, sir, please.
I'm not used to this part. I'd like to be over there. This is fun. Hey, thank you. I remember for 8 years how these strategic planning meetings and they went in I always dreamed that there'd be 100 people here. And it just never seems like it is. And Mayor and I spoke this morning. If we were talking about a big corporation coming in over on Syrup Mill Road, there'd be 100 and 200 people here. But just when you're planning and when you're hoping you plan ahead for all that, it just doesn't quite get the people out. I've always taken that as a compliment, and you should too. They trust you. If they didn't trust you, they'd be here complaining and telling you they wanted you to do something different. A couple comments on just a few, and thank you for putting these out here so we knew exactly what you're thinking about. A penny sales tax for the town of Blythewood. I think that's a wonderful idea if there is a specific plan, a one-line item that you're going to spend that money for. If you take that money and just put that in the general fund, that's going to be a mistake. That's a disaster. You've got to tell the residents why you're doing that and what the need is for that, and then make sure it all goes there and everybody can see the transparency of that. A TROS zoning for open areas in town.
Can I address it?
Oh, absolutely.
What I want to do
Yes,
is get
Mayor.
the conversation going.
Yes, sir.
As part of the process, obviously, we look at the SWOT analysis, the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. The biggest weakness that I see for the municipality of Blythewood as the mayor is our revenue, control of revenues. We only get our revenues, I think there's 4 ways essentially, business license fees, the utility payments, franchise fees, hospitality tax shares from the state, accommodations tax shares from the state. Those are the way. We don't have a millage. We don't impose personal tax on citizens here. The county does that through property tax and penny tax. And so as a weakness, as we do this process, you'll see, I'll use an example, a sports complex. We've been talking about this since I was playing ball here in the late 70s on the same 3 fields, which have never changed. So if we're serious about doing that, and the citizens support that move, so we have a place for our growing population of children, as well as our elderly population who wants a place to go walk dogs and out in the nature, in the green space, and we build this, how much would it cost? So let's say it's going to cost us $18 million to do that. We can't pay for that with the revenues that we have now. So how would you do it? You would make that a single item, like you just said, Mike, and so we're going to have that item as the expenditure we want to fund. How do you do it? Do you impose a millage on the citizens of the town of Blythewood? And remember, when you ask people where they're from and they say Blythewood, that means the 29016 zip code. That means all the way from Highway 321 to Hardscrabble Road, all the way from the Fairfield County border down to Killian Road. Anybody who lives in there will tell you that they live in Blythewood. And they use our facilities. They come here to this wonderful park, this amphitheater. They attend concerts, all the events we sponsor. And they bring their kids up here to have athletics, sports in our current park. So those people are using the resources that we would provide with a millage, but only a small few people in the center of that zip code would be paying that fee. So I don't see that as a fair taxation for what you're providing. The only other way around that would be to impose a penny tax per se, and that means anybody traveling through Blythewood on I-77 that stops to get gas or a hamburger or spend the night would pay that tax also. The people who come from Long Creek Plantation area, Columbia Country Club area, and they bring their kids here to use our park, they would be paying that tax as well. If you spend your money in Blythewood, you would have a penny. That's the only reason that's on there. That's not to say I'm tied to that. That would just be an example of how we could fairly raise revenues for one single purpose, a sports complex in this case. And when that money was raised and spent and met and all the obligations are clear, that penny tax would go away. It would not be in perpetuity. But thank you for that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. The other, I just want to make sure, the trust for zoning for open areas and town green space, I think, and I might have talked with Councilman Griffin about this, I just worry, I don't want to mislead people to think that's going to be an answer when we just saw what happened to the Crick and Tree people here a year ago when they had a trust that Richland County had set up that they totally ignored. I mean, they just ignored their own ordinance about how they had zoned an area and let somebody come in and build. If you can do it, great, but don't mislead us and make us think we're safe and it really mean nothing in the end.
Right. And of course, just to be face value, perfectly honest with all of you all, you know this, if we do establish a trust through the planning commission, it's recommended to us and we adopt it. The trust can be applied, but that application, as we learned from the county, the next council that you elect could go right back and take that away. And so it's not a forever protective, but I think it's the right thing to do. All the citizens who lived in Crick and Tree came here, pleaded to us to annex them so we could protect them. They're a little bit too far out. We'd have to get everyone in between. Hence the annexation drive I'm trying to implement here. Because if we do implement trusts, at least while we're here, you don't have to worry about developers coming in.
Sure, absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Traditional recreation open space. It's designed for ball fields, golf courses, large tracts of land that you don't ever want a developer to come in. And it can only be used for the purposes of parks, recreation, outdoor activities. Trails, that's exactly right. Equine riding, horse riding centers, yep.
Couple more, Mayor and Council, if you don't mind. One that sticks out for me is take over operational control of the Richland County Blythewood Youth Softball, Baseball Park and modernize it. You know, for me, this was a struggle for the whole time that I believe, if you look at your tax notice, how much we pay to the Richland County Recreation Commission, the town of Blythewood should not have to be responsible. I already know they are. The people that play up there do more work. Their parents, the people up there do more work than the Richland County Recreation Commission does. But I would like to see your fight be, your challenge be still to hold them accountable, the Richland County Recreation Commission. Meet with them again. Mayor Franklin, you had a wonderful meeting because we were there one time with the new director right when she had come in, but it seems like we meet and I don't hear anything without in the whole county what they're doing. It seems like they've kind of, since they had the bad publicity back when the Director Brown was there, it's like they've gone silent. They've gone deep under the ocean or something and just paying for what, they're just keeping up stuff, but no new projects, no new ideas. This place for 30 years, just as you say, Mayor, we have the same 3 ball fields. There's room out there for 2 more. I've seen designs for them, and it's ridiculous that we don't get that, and I hope you'll push for that and not think about even, I don't think we ought to spend a dime of our own money. We already pay for that, and we should get that.
You're absolutely right, sir. And all I'll add to that is we have initiatives underway. You and I went before. I went a separate time with the Blythewood Youth Baseball president of the league. Councilman Sloan Griffin now is launching an initiative with newly elected County Council member Derek Pugh, who also lives in Blythewood, to go again and engage. We're looking at another engagement with different people this time. But I think it'll carry a little more weight with a county council member going in there to ask about why his district has been left behind for so many years while other parks are going up in other areas of the county, and we're supposedly the fastest growing area. It kind of doesn't make sense, but hopefully they can get a breakthrough there, and we'll continue to work that with the county council, because I agree with you. We're paying that money,
Yes, sir.
and we don't have facilities. Yep.
Two more. One, I want to be very positive on. Well, no, I'm going to end with that. No, right now. This one, it's just wonderful. Add one big item and piece of equipment to the Doco playground. I came out here the other day with my grandson, and you see it all the time. I bet there were 20 kids out there. It might have been Martin Luther King Day and people were playing, running, walking. And if we can't do but one thing for our kids, we can put more equipment in that playground, and they love it. I mean, it's just swings as simple as seesaws and it's things, and you could just tell they love it. So I compliment you on that. When I was there, I think we put in one or two, and it is not cheap. I swear you can't believe that those plastic things or whatever they put out there cost $30,000. But do that. That's great. The last one, let me please tell you, please stay away from hiring a visitor bureau's manager and administrative assistant. If you don't think we've been down this road, I don't know how many times. I think Jim and Frankie McLean, I hope they would say this when they tried to do this in the visitor center. We've done it, in the Historical Society, when we did this, when the Artists Guild, and we had the Visitor Center. It's a great idea. But if you look at the numbers, it's ridiculous to spend any money. People just don't do that as much as they used to. I used to think it was neat when you went to Myrtle Beach to stop at that visitor center to go to the bathroom and see if they had anything else. But you didn't go in there to ask them anything about Myrtle Beach and maybe pick up a pamphlet. You can do all that online. So I would just encourage you. I don't know. It seems like a great idea. It seems like the Hoffman House would be great, but I think it'd be a waste of money. And I think there's other things we could do it. And thank you for your time. Thank you.
Sir, thank you. And that was an example, again, of several citizens asking why we don't have a visitor center. So I just assured them that we would take it up as a council to see if that's something we want to do or something we don't want to do. But as Blythewood grows in the future and we get more and more activities and people come, but you got to have it open on the weekend because that's when people travel. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, absolutely. Oh, yeah. Nobody, we wouldn't hire anybody until that was all solidified, where we're going to do it, hours of operation, how much we pay, if we do it at all. But yes, again, that's another idea, and thank you for that input, sir. Okay, now what I want to do is get the input of the SWOT analysis. And everybody can chime in if you wish, and what I want to do is get your opinions on the strengths, the opportunities, the weaknesses, and the threats to Blythewood as a municipality. And I'll write them up here on this board to get the conversation going. This process is where you try to maintain your strengths, doing what you're doing, do it more efficiently, do it bigger and better. Look at your weaknesses, try to bolster those weaknesses up with policies and procedures. And if you have opportunities, put them on your calendar and attack them. And if you have threats, you got to defend yourself and make sure something's not right. You want to make Test, test, okay. So now we're covering the strengths for people online. I apologize. The strengths of Blythewood, we're going to look at weaknesses, then we're going to look at opportunities, and we're going to look at the threats. So right now, we have people and location for strengths. The park itself, the strength, the sense of our community. Schools, yep.
Our proximity to Fort Jackson and City of Columbia.
How about the environment?
Environment, right?
You know, when you say the sense of community, something I love about Blythewood is the diversity of our community.
Diversity,
Yeah, we have like a great equine contingency, but then you have those that have chosen to move here for retirement, and then you have the new families coming in. There's just such a diversity here that's made it a great melting pot on top of the history that we have, which is significant too.
history, I'll write that down. Within Blythewood, I agree. Within Richland County, I disagree, but yeah, I got you. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Sure. Manor and amphitheater, right, the entire,
Do we have military?
we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna
Do
talk.
we have military-friendly town?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure, sure. I'll just put veterans. We do have many veterans programs, many veterans here. One of my objectives on that list is a veterans park with the service flags, if that's something we want to do as a community. Events, yeah, okay. Yep. Yep. Right. And then my intent in that article was one big event a month. Obviously, there can be more, but I mean, that is actually sponsored by the town. We have that. I think we have 2 months where we don't have something large. It's on my welcome letter. I'll go over here to the website and pull it up in a second. But every single month, we have a very large event here in the park or the rodeo across the street. And that's why we were looking at a marketing RFP to make sure all that's marketed so people come to it. Yes, sir, Steve. Yeah, location. That's kind of what I interpreted that to mean, but you're right. Yep. Okay. Youth sports. Go ahead. Yeah, that's true. That's a, well, let's save that for opportunities. Is that, yeah, that'd be a good opportunity to solicit and bring in those industries with jobs and make sure it's something we want there. It's just not tripling our traffic and. Okay, any other strengths? And if you think of some, we'll come back to it. I don't want it to be a finite list. Okay, so now we're going to do Weaknesses, so be thinking about that. So weaknesses, and as I said in the beginning, revenue. It's not necessarily a weakness, but it prevents you from launching out doing everything you want to do because you have a finite resource, and that's not a bad thing necessarily. Like many of you in the audience have said today, Mr. Utroska, you don't just raise money to have money. You got to have a purpose for it, and it's got to be a benefit to the community, and I agree with that. Yes, you had your hand up, sir? Okay, so council influence, that's a very good observation. Yes, ma'am, Ms. McLean. Traffic. Traffic and outdated infrastructure, absolutely. Okay. So security as a whole. Right, trash can, yeah, we have. Yes, sir. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Sidewalks, another good one, like security. I'm gonna put security / sidewalks. You're exactly right. And that's all our major roads. I mean, just yesterday going to work, this fellow was jogging down Fulmer Road. I mean, it's straight drop-off ditch. You can barely get on the line, and if drivers aren't paying attention that early in the morning, you know, you have a certain safety hazard and risk that we're assuming. Okay. Weaknesses?
I think one that we don't really think about, but is revenue driven, is our dependency on other government agencies to provide our services here in town.
Okay.
We're just dependent on them.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah, right around us, Langford Road. So maybe development, sprawl. Unabated, yeah. On our outskirts, I agree. We've done what we can inside the town limit. Sir. Right. Right. Absolutely. Okay, well, that's fine. Right, and we've been discussing annexation quite a bit here recently amongst council members, and after this process, and if it becomes one of our big items, then we'll start resourcing it and put it on the calendar. But annexation is one of those issues that you got to be very, very careful with, because if you get too big, then the county now says, well, you're big enough to do your own tax base and have your own fire and your own police services. And that's okay, but if you do that, that's multi-million dollars a year that now the taxpayer is gonna have to pick up. Whereas now you have the sheriff's department providing some police services here, and you have the fire, the intergovernmental agreements that Councilman Griffin works on. Yes, sir, Mr. Troska. Yeah, that's right. That's right. You're absolutely right. And yes, that is blasphemous. But yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I wrote adult programs as a weakness. I'm still trying to word that last one. Weaknesses, perception of big government.
Can you, Mr. Mayor,
Please, go ahead.
Mr. Utroska, can you elaborate on that for me for a moment? I'm trying to, big government, what is your?
Sir, first of all, where are you sitting right now? And what are we doing? So that argument does not hold water. That is an absolute ridiculous comment. We reach out all the time. We're holding this right now for you. We're having a joint planning session with the count and the first Monday of February, which I announced today. Okay, Tom. Got it. Thank you. Sorry we're not listening to you. Call me directly. But let me, you said your piece, let me say my piece. So we make sure we have a consistent communication here. When we talk about a modern sports complex, have you been to one lately? It's for all ages. It has trails for the adult population. It has playgrounds for the young kids who cannot play baseball yet. It has wide open fields that you can rent for any purpose. It has picnic shelters for families to come in and do reunions and spend time together. That's the vision. That's what we're talking about doing when we're talking about the sports complex. You're trying to pigeonhole it to just baseball. That's your comment, not ours.
And
Okay.
I just want to, can I add one thing?
Please, go ahead.
Yep. So, about surveying and things like that, those are things that I think as a council, when you got new members that just joined, I think that you see a lot of the survey pieces, and we are coming together to do these bigger surveys, these Survey Monkey pieces and that sort. So trying to get the time and get staff where they can put together that and build an email list is somewhat of a challenge when you don't have general email lists, and different accessibility issues, broadband and things like that, if you're trying to get outside of the area to build that. Just on the IGA pieces, when you're talking about law enforcement and things of that sort, we have not lost any bit of fire and rescue capabilities. The Sheriff's Department has been very receptive to the conversations on our needs. So those are being contracted right now in new agreements to give us some enhancement. I think what you're thinking about is really down the line, and I think that's what we're trying to achieve, is looking down the line where we, as we get bigger, we're gonna need some focused in on law enforcement. And I think the challenge is trying to figure out how to get there to pay for it. And the conversation with Richland County Sheriff's Office, they're gonna help us visualize that and help us helping guide us along that trail to get us to that point, if that's an option that we're looking at down the road. So that's why I just wanted to, I always hear big government, and I always ask people, break that down for me. What exactly is big government? And I appreciate you doing that for me, sir.
But one more comment. We can't have false narratives out there. When somebody says we're trying to triple the tax on the people in Blythewood, like was said today, we don't have a tax on people in Blythewood at all. So that's a false narrative. Big government. All we're trying to do is accommodate the wishes of our citizens, common sense things like sidewalks. Well, guess what? That gives you safety, but it costs money. So how do we as a council accommodate the safety needs of our citizens without raising some kind of money? That's why we're talking about doing that. Otherwise, if the citizens say that's a waste of money, we don't need it, then we won't do it. I mean, that's the frustration. When you say we're closed government and we don't invite the public in, and you're sitting in an open meeting that was the entire public was invited to, I don't understand the intent of making comments like that. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
Mr. Mayor, can I?
Go ahead.
So I think, like now you see how we're moving now. We're broadcasting live on, yeah. So, and I think we're doing a great job. We're invested, time and money into broadcasting live as we are now. We're working on the RFP for a marketing firm. And the idea behind that is because those firms have the ability to reach people that we all know a certain group or certain circle of people. We can say, hey, tune in and watch. But that marketing firm can get out broad, cast a broader net to say, hey, you can tune in every fourth Monday and watch Blythewood Town Council. And we can start to generate that. So we're starting to generate that buzz, but somebody has to be the captain of that ship to ensure that that message is getting out there on social media. We're in a social media era. So to get more people involved, if you're hitting them on Facebook or their YouTube links, you can get more involvement in that.
When we do this, that would probably be a weakness right now that you're talking about, maybe citizen involvement. But it's an opportunity, as I see it, because one of the initiatives on that list is outreach to the HOAs. The people who don't come to town meetings certainly come to their neighborhood meetings, or most do. You're still going to have those people who don't go to anything. I can't help them if I don't know that they have a need. Right, I understand that. But if you have HOAs, and we're compiling the list now, and most HOAs, well, I shouldn't say most, I don't know that to be true. They meet at least once a year. Some meet more frequently. And if we have representation from this body that goes to that meeting and sits down and takes notes at the end of your business, then the people start bringing up issues they have with the town or good ideas they want to bring to the town. One of our representatives from the board can be there and communicate and make sure everybody understands. Maybe you got a busy life. Maybe you work at night and you can't attend a town hall meeting at 7 p.m. Well, that's why we collectively got together, and now we're being broadcast live on YouTube. And then when it's done, that recording of the meeting, all our meetings, planning commission, everybody, goes on the website, and it goes on YouTube itself. And you can search Blythewood Town Council, and you can see all our public meetings. In case you didn't have an opportunity to attend, you can still attend and then call one of us and give feedback.
Mr. Mayor?
So that's a good point. Sir?
I'd like to just add a few comments to what you had to say, ma'am. And I just pose a question to the group. What is the cure for ignorance and apathy? Hold on. Correct. Education and access. I believe the cure is education and access.
Right.
My opinion. All five of us, Mayor Franklin, Councilman Ballman, Councilman Griffin, the elder Councilman Griffin, everyone in this room, everyone in this town has access to us. Every one of us have an email address on the town's website that we check, maybe not daily, but it comes to my phone. We can respond. I know Mayor Franklin signs his emails with his phone number. He is accessible nearly most of the day.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
I know Councilman Ballman's phone number's out there. Both Councilman Griffin's, my phone number's available if someone needs it. We are accessible to the town if people will pick up the phone and call us, if they'll send us an email. Education, we have now put all our town documents on our website. We broadcast our meetings. If anybody needs access or has questions or concerns relating to what's going on currently, in the past, or in the future, we are available to talk with individuals. As far as inspiring individuals to become involved, that is the million-dollar question. How do you get people to care? I don't have an answer to that. All we can do is make ourselves available and put as much information out there as possible. Transparency is a word we like to use. Be as transparent as possible so that when individuals say, hey, I didn't know about that. Okay, well, there's been 2 public meetings about this. We put it on our website. We send out all of our meetings. We comply with state statute to send out information to the newspapers, usually 48, 72 hours prior to the meeting. We do what we can to make sure that everything is available. And if people don't show up, as Councilman Sloan Griffin alluded to, we are actively involved in an RFP for marketing, advertising, and grant writing, and that's what it is on the surface, but there's a little more to it. There's an engagement piece to it, to where the town will, we have a town newsletter. I know it's sent out monthly, weekly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you can't force someone to provide you their email address. But again, we can run campaigns to say, hey, this is what we have to offer. If you would like this sort of information, come to, I like Monkey Survey. I thought that was pretty funny, Tom. Come to this, input your information, and you will be put in our database, and you will receive the town's newsletter. It's either biweekly or monthly or whatever it is, and it will be concise and to the point, and it will tell you exactly what's coming up and what you need to know for the next X period of time. So, yeah, we could probably do a little bit better job with engagement. But once we've taken all the steps that we have at our disposal, then we're all going to be left here saying, well, we have what we have. It's like getting people to show up to vote. How many registered voters we have in town? 3,000? How many active? Maybe 2? I think you and I did crunch the numbers, Brian. How many actually show up?
Yeah, usually about 300.
Yeah, 15% of active voters show up on off-cycle elections to vote for town representation. It's low. Not the ones in this room, no.
Right. 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 I think you'll see some improvement with turnout. Like Councilman Brock just said, you know, if you're a Facebook user or social media user and you look at your phone one day and we have this marketing RFP in place, and it'll pop up and say, don't forget, Monday night is town council meeting. The following items are going to be discussed, and that may drive more people to come and participate or at least call some of us. So I think that'll help. Because right now, you know, frankly, there's 4. Word of mouth. We talk to each other in Blythewood. The people in this room talk to other people. The other one's the town website, which a lot of people probably don't use, but it has what's going on and what's coming up. And then the 2 local newspapers. And not everybody even gets those. So those are and that's why we've seen this as a weakness, which I probably need to write it up there. Marketing is a weakness, and it's also an opportunity, because to get that outreach, to let people know what's going on, will bring them in. And by the way, that's money that you had to spend anyway. So it's nothing new that we're not wasting money. That's money we had to give somewhere to some nonprofit. If it's Columbia Visitors Bureau and why is Columbia doing our marketing, that makes no sense. We need local. That's why we're going through this RFP process. And maybe the outcome will be more people will participate if they know about it. Yep. Yes. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Mr. McHenrick's going to get up here later. He doesn't know I'm going to put him on the spot, but our chairman of our planning commission, and he has a survey that the planning commission has developed. And that's why he's here today, to coordinate and make sure we don't kind of double tap, what we call in the military, cover the same items twice. And he's going to send that out to the citizens of Blythewood and see if we can solicit input. And one way to do it is to get it to those HOA presidents to make sure your little email address in your community. And the benefit of that is your neighborhood and mine and Rich's and Don's, we may have different nuances, different needs than, you know, where other people live. People who live down Bonnie Road all the way to Blythe Creek, they need, you know, sidewalks. They need to slow down the traffic there because you have children playing nearby. Whereas my neighborhood, you know, we need more lights on the streets, for instance. So those are things that will come up from this survey that they're going to put out. And I applaud him for taking that initiative. So I think you're going to see some improvement based on this exercise and his questionnaire and our marketing. I think it's going to really do a lot for letting the citizens know what's going on. Yes, ma'am, Ms. McLean. Yes, ma'am. Mhm. Yes, ma'am. Since we're still brainstorming, I'll answer that for you as far as I know, and the council members can help me out. If you go down Blythewood Road and you pass, but in between Cert Mill and Muller, there's what used to be called the old Red Gate Community Tract, 141 and a half acres was sold to a Blythewood individual. They're still coming up with a plan on how they want to do commercial up front, because that's Town Center District zoned up front, or that's what they're trying to finish and rectify. And in the back, there's a vast swath of property. They're not sure what they want to do with it. So we've already engaged them to say, think about us, to think about the town, so we can. The other piece is, if you go right out here on 21, and you pass the old house, past Blythewood Academy, and you start looking off to the left, 91 acres, the Wilson tract, and the Wilson family has reached out to me, and I've talked to their real estate agent. They want to sell their tract of land. I don't want to get into the personal details of it, but they would be very amenable to the town getting it as opposed to anybody else getting it, for namesake and loving Blythewood and things like that. So that piece is available, and we're looking at that. And then lastly, the 1,360 acre industrial park. Initially, they told us they want the front 100 acres of that to be commercial, restaurants and things, and then everything behind it would be those Class A industrial, office buildings, maybe some light distribution, something like that back there. Nothing big, no copper smelters and pollutants and things like that. But now the county is talking about possibly doing something in there of a recreational value. So we're working with Richland County Recreation Commission, and when Councilman Griffin and Councilman Pugh go talk to them, maybe we could break something free there. But those are, as I see it, the big tracks. Yeah, there's 3 acres right here, just right out that we've talked to those individuals. Half of that's swamp though, but so we're still looking at that. Right. That's a good point. You're right. That's a good point. That's right. That's right. Yes, ma'am. That is certainly on our agenda, and we're looking at those. Like I said, we're talking to real estate, we're talking to developers off of Creech Road. So when Creech Road, where am I? When it gets extended through to the Blythewood High School Stadium, all that land in there will be Town Center District also. Yeah, absolutely. But we're certainly looking at that. Yes, sir. No. It is not paid for, no. Well, yeah. I'm sorry, input for what? Right. And you're proving the exact point that we brought up. Ms. Utroska brought it up. You feel as if you're kept out of the loop. I personally have held at least 5 meetings with the Blythewood Youth Baseball and Softball League. I have held personal meetings with the Pop Warner Football League. These are all the parents of the athletes who play and are asking for this sport complex and why the county is leaving us out. And we have more kids here than they do in certain areas, and they have brand new facilities and we don't. So we have been outreach, but see, because somebody didn't tell you that, you probably didn't know, or you didn't check the website, or whatever the case may be. That's why we're trying to do this marketing, to make sure people have more information. So the parents of those athletes want a brand new sports complex. And Tom, I think, did he step out? He talked about it should pay for itself. Well, that's exactly what we're going to do. But you got to have the money up front to buy it and develop it. And then as we have our tournaments, and teams literally pay anywhere from $450 to $700 a team to participate in these tournaments, all that. But then you have to pay attendees and parking and all that. But when it's all said and done, you're still making a profit off every single weekend and all sports throughout the year. Everything but basketball, unless we can build a gym facility there as well. But that's more millions of dollars, as you know. So all that over time, and I can't tell you the payoff, it might be 50 or 70 years, but the bottom line is it will pay for itself. But you're going to have the $18, $20 million up front to build it. And that's why we're in conversations now. What do we do? Does Blythewood want to do that, or do we want to hold the county accountable? Mr. Pugh, Ms. Barron, are they going to get down there and get some resources up here where we don't have to? That would be fantastic, and that's why we're all talking to them now. So good point. Land is an opportunity, it is a weakness, but it's also an opportunity. Marketing is a weakness, but it's an opportunity to get more feedback, like Mayor Bailey just said. And then HOA outreach is just another avenue that we can reach out to the public in their specific home area, in their neighborhood, and see what their concerns are. So what other opportunities do you all see Blythewood, any potential that Blythewood has that we could do?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
are we, to my knowledge, we're not finished with this park. I just thought about that when,
Yeah, no, the
Mayor
park's not
Bailey-
finished, nor is it paid for. Yeah, that,
So we still got the splash pad
Yep.
and those things.
and if you
that
look
we
on my
could-
list of things,
No, probably not.
one of those things is let's revisit that. I know Councilman Ballman's on the board, former Mayor Ross, you're on the board, is that correct, sir? Yeah, so we can get a meeting with them, a joint, or when they have their next meeting, perhaps you and I can go and sit and look and see. But they have the master plan drawn out, the farmer's market building. I think there's another depot building supposed to be on this end, is that right? And so it's not finished. They're continuing to raise money, and that kind of also is one of our weaknesses in that we don't have all those revenues because they're still paying this off, but as soon as they do, you can move it to other. Yes, sir. Yes, I mean, I can keep going. If you got a weakness, I can. Ms. York. Okay. So I went to Spring Valley High School, so tell me, how do I write that right here? What do you want me to? I'm just kidding. Yeah, that's all, well, you may or may not know, let me communicate. The planning commission is gonna embark on the rewrite of the comprehensive plan very soon. We're gonna have quarterly joint planning sessions with them to assist in the process where we can, to make sure our communicate, because too often, they're the independent body, we don't like to talk to them, we don't like to look at them a lot, because they have to give independent analysis and assessments of zoning and things, and then they recommend to the board who has the final vote on it. So we're gonna break that mold, and we're gonna start communicating, not direct them or anything like that, but sit down with them and talk on a quarterly basis about where we're going, to cover those issues like the questionnaire that Rich is gonna send out to folks, and to talk about the roads. I mean, you bring up a good point. I'm just going on the assumption that's what SCDOT wanted to do initially. That's what we've, said, okay, that looks good. But has someone done a traffic study? Have we looked at the, yes, sir? Right. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, let me give you some good news. Maybe I hear what you're saying. Malcolm Gorge, obviously being our representative to the Penny Tax Committee, we voted on a resolution to, Blythewood Road was the number one priority, as you stated, and they've already started that. Now, they're running into some issues with buying up rights away from property, and they got to deal with that in court. And so that one's kind of bogged down. The next priority was that traffic circle in front of Cobblestone. But due to the citizen comments back and the pushback we've received, we moved that to number 4. And number 2 is the Creech Road extension now. McNulty, Creech Road, it all flows, and it comes all the way out by the Blythewood High School football stadium. And then potentially we put sidewalks from there up to Town Hall, and now you literally have a walking venue. You can park in one place, kind of like Sand Hills Mall is, and have that as your town center district where you can walk all over, to include back up to Town Hall if you so chose. So that's our number 1. They acknowledged that, and they actually moved that to our next priority. So the traffic circle's still on the list, but it's going to be pushed down the road until they settle their legal disputes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Right, you're exactly right. And that, when that project is complete, there's 400 cars coming out on Langford. There's only 45 houses coming out on Reimer Pond. Once that starts occurring and they have these traffic studies that they've conducted, then potentially Langford Road will be a widening project. It won't, now, it's not on the current slate because the houses aren't there, and state DOT has a lot of specific rules they follow, and they can't forecast. They have to only deal with what's there, because the developer could back out tomorrow and not finish that. And now we've committed millions of dollars. Right. Yeah. That's right. Well, the widening is supposed to come down and give us an extra lane, so if you're gonna turn into school, you're sitting in that left lane. Same thing happens on Reimer Pond at Round Top Church and all the rest. Yeah. All I know is we have been very effective at communicating with SCD. They understand where we are. Malcolm Gorge goes to every meeting. He talks about us all the time. They understand. Some of the commissioners live up in this area, and that's our next, and we're gonna get to that, but as far as an engagement, what I wanna do is, yes, go ahead. I agree, absolutely. All right, what do I want to do? What time is it, Don?
It's 10:20, sir.
Okay, let's take a break so we can all mingle and get outside and get some coffee and things. We'll come back and do the opportunities and the threats. Then we'll talk about a mission statement, and then I'll let Mr. McHenrick talk about his questionnaire, if you don't mind. So let's take about a 15-minute break.
Yeah, Mitty is my husband's got there, Jim. Jim is Hud's younger brother.
Here in a short sleeve shirt, but it started
Dawn
getting,
was talking about it being cold, and they went and turned on the,
I tried to sit here with a
Turn on
short
the
sleeve
heat.
shirt on, but I got cold. That's why I'm drinking coffee.
I'm getting out your way, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to write.
Hey, you're not in my way. I don't know who did that. I don't know who did that. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't have anything to do with that. Yeah.
We had them when we first came. I still got mine. We leave, we can take them with us. I'm gonna get Sarah Lynn to work on that. Get us a brass Man, you can't be working at staff like that. They get confused who they working for. Don, how things going with you, man?
they're going, it's going okay.
How's things with the kids? Everything good?
Yeah, they're back in school, so that's good. I'm glad the district decided to make that decision. Yeah,
I can't do virtual with a 5-year-old.
no, that doesn't work.
And I tried to see when they went virtual to start with, I tried to get Richard in, but they was full. And I couldn't get him in. I was too late. And they was, I understand. Well, I was gonna get mine in, and they said, well, get him on this list, you know, we're gonna do a list. And if we might get enough kids, we'll put another kindergarten class on. We'll hire another teacher if we get enough interest. But you know what? Kindergarten will break you up there too, just in kindergarten. It is.
Yeah, I'm glad that they decided to go back. I don't know if you saw.
Okay, we about ready to start back up?
Saw that.
That was a disgrace. That really was. I understand the hard decisions are having to be made, and they're not gonna make everybody happy.
Hey, look, two
My friend
patrol
teaches,
cars.
she teaches virtual still. She don't have any teachers. She's been teaching for 27 years, and she teaches at Lake Carolina, Lower, or whatever, one of them over there, whatever they call it, upper, lower. She's in the classroom, but she has no children.
Is Larry still with us there? Okay, just making sure. Yeah, about step up, yeah. Yeah, just for the good of the public, I apologize. From now on, when we have an audience member provide a contribution, they need to come up to the microphone because people that are watching us virtually cannot hear your comments. So Phil, if you want to state your 15-minute speech all over again, I'd appreciate it. Just kidding, just kidding. I know. But rest assured, folks, and out there watching us online, when all these notes are done, I'm going to put it all in a package and staff it, let the council make sure I captured everything adequately, and then we're going to send that out to the public. So you'll get the products, you'll get our discussion points, and you'll be able to provide us feedback before we put this into motion. Okay, so having said that, we were on opportunities, and then we'll do threats, then we'll develop a mission statement, and we'll let the Planning Commission talk about their vision for the future, Mr. McHenry, and then we will develop our objectives for the next 2 years, and we should be done for now. And then we'll get any feedback in the future. We will continue to modify and add it. There's no good idea that's ever too late. It's just the implementation of ideas too late is the problem. So opportunities, what I have here is we have an opportunity for an HOA outreach. We're one of the council members. And for the public good, Steve reminded me, the town standing policy for HOAs in Blythewood, if you have an HOA and you live in the town city limits of Blythewood and you want to host your HOA meeting here, you're absolutely allowed to do that free of charge. So you work through Steve Hasterrock, you schedule your meeting if you don't want to do it at some outlying area or in your neighborhood, however you do it, but you can come here and use this facility. I think Fairfield Electric also does a similar provides a similar service for right down across on Muller Road. Another opportunity is marketing. Again, that's a weakness and an opportunity. I think we've covered why marketing is important. There are a lot of complaints that citizens don't know what we're doing. And hopefully when you have your telephone in your hand and you go into your social media or email and you see an ad pop up that says, remember Blythewood Planning Commission meeting or Blythewood Town Hall. And so the more we can reach out and tell people and ask them to get involved, the better. We can't make them do it, but we certainly don't want anybody to be surprised of what we're doing as a town. Another opportunity was the land purchases. Ms. McLean brought up, that is true. We're not making much new land anymore, the last time I checked. So what we have remaining and available is it. And so if the town misses out, it'll be years and years or maybe never that you have an opportunity to buy a piece of public property for public use if we let it go on the market. And lastly, that I put, and then I'll get your input, is new county partnerships is a great opportunity. I'm going to do a chart if we have time later, and you put the town of Blythewood in the center, and then you put everybody who is a stakeholder to the town of Blythewood. County council obviously be one, our state representatives would be one, industry would be one, Dominion Energy, Fairfield Electric, potential partners that are coming to our industrial site would be one. Those are unknown now, but they will certainly be partners when they get here. And as we negotiate their fees and taxes and what they can do for our community. So new county partnerships is critical because as stated before, we pay a large amount of property tax as citizens here in Richland County. And so we want to see the return on that investment more so than just the sheriff's department and the fire department, but what about our recreation facilities and our adult activities, as was brought up before. So what other opportunities do you see that Blythewood has over the next 2 to 3 years? Yes, ma'am. Oh, I'm sorry, yes, thank you for reminding me. Yep, Ms. McLean.
Do you want to take the microphone to them?
Yeah, well, we could, if y'all don't want to touch it and handle it, COVID protocols, it's easier, yeah. If you want to do that.
This is Frankie McLean. This would be an opportunity that would happen within the next year. And we've been talking about getting citizens involved. And I think it would be a good idea for our town to celebrate the anniversary of our park. And if I'm not mistaken, it's the 10th year anniversary coming up this spring. I could see things like a huge billboard outside that people that do walk the park would write their names on. Children could draw pictures on. That does get citizens involved. And then the more they're involved with the community, maybe then the more they would take opportunities to come to meetings and be involved in things like this. So that would not be long range, that would be this year. But I do think it's a wonderful opportunity for us.
Yes, ma'am. We will put that on the agenda. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to, under opportunities, kind of go macro, because it comes up under some of our strengths, some of our weaknesses. But as we talk about opportunities, it is a blessing and a curse not to be a big government, but at the same time,
we, as a local government, have to figure out how to get ahead of what's coming at us. And I'll use Redgate as an example. Redgate was in foreclosure. It was bank-owned. The Planning Commission spent a lot of time talking about the zoning of it. We let a plan unit development sit there for longer than we should have, so we tried to deal with the zoning of Redgate, and we failed to look at the bigger picture, and that, in this one example, would have been Redgate's not always going to be in foreclosure. And if Redgate is for sale, coupling with a recreation site we want, the bank owns it, we were already talking to the bank.
That's right.
But we as a planning commission failed to plan beyond what was right in front of us. We always deal with what is right in front of us. No one's really happy within the town limits of Blythewood that Blythewood Farms is coming.
Yep.
Well, we need to turn that into an advantage. Yes, there's going to be 400-plus homes there. They're not in Blythewood. So Richland County is getting ready to be bombarded by brand-new homeowners that don't live in Blythewood that can't get out of their neighborhood. So, no, we don't want those 400-plus homes going there, but we've got to switch our thinking on it and use it as an opportunity. And it's hard for us to do that because we don't have the staff. All of our boards and commissions are volunteers. Town council, there's 5 of you, but there's only so much you can do. So the question and the opportunity would be, how do we get ahead? Yeah, we write a comprehensive plan, which I'll speak about in a little bit, but that comprehensive plan is only as good as every board, every commission, the town council, every HOA, every church, every organization knowing how that looks in 10 years. Yes, it is a fluid document and will change. But are we all marching to the beat of the same drum, or are we missing opportunities? And I really think we missed one with Redgate. Now, yes, a Blythewood family purchased it.
Right.
But wow, wouldn't it have been better if Blythewood somehow would have gotten our hands
Absolutely.
on that
It
property?
was frustrating, you're right, because we were Councilman Brock and I talked about it often, well, all of us did. And we were ready to approach the bank.
Absolutely.
And then, sure enough, as
Sold
soon
it.
as Mr. Cook called, oh, they sold it last Friday. You know,
Exactly. But we were, and all of us had all the pieces to that puzzle. But we were just thinking of what here and now. Planning Commission was only thinking of what zoning is best. Town Council was thinking, how do we keep, 300 homes from being built on it? Because that's who Arthur State Bank
right.
was marketing it to. None of us backed up, took a big deep breath and said, okay, what's next? And I don't have the answer because I'm on Planning Commission and we just deal with the here and now. And it comes at you pretty quick. Totally agree with the comment of getting people involved. We can fill this room if we're talking about a hot topic issue. But when that hot topic is not on the agenda, you see the same 5
That's right.
faces in front of you. And as I look around the room, there's so many of these individuals that served on Planning Commission before the next step, whether it was the, town council or whatever the case may be. But I think we work together. We pull our strengths together and use the HOAs, the churches, the chamber, the town government, and figure out a way to get ahead of what is coming, because it's coming. I mean, we've known now for, how many years that these 450 homes are coming? It's not going to be stopped. They're coming. How do we turn that and use it to Blythewood
Right.
town?
How do you make that an opportunity?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. So that would be my feedback. I think it's an opportunity, but it's hard to put feet to.
Great point. Yes, sir.
Annexation, I know we got that on the other one,
Yeah.
but.
Yeah, some of them cross
yeah,
over.
Yeah, they cross over, but just to go back on what Rich, what you just said, I think getting ahead of it is annexation, where we can control some of those corridors coming into Blythewood. So I think citizens, including yourself, will be surprised moving forward on how we'll lay out annexation. I talked about a little bit in the merchants meeting with the chamber the other day. The mayor was there. just on, because a lot of us took different missions and kind of took charge with it to move some things forward. But annexation, going back to Tom's piece about surveying, where we're going to build a interactive website. So once a homeowner inputs their information in, we'll be able to see it. It's on the map. It'll light up, show up red, and we know those areas where folks are like, they're ready to come in right now. And then we'll know those areas where we need to be a little bit more horn in on marketing to get to them, to answer those tough questions. I shared with Brock in a conversation the other day because I wanted to see what other cities were doing on annexation. And I went back to my hometown of Greenwood. This is their annexation information. And it's in a trifold. I couldn't print a trifold out of a regular printer, but just on how they put their information together to give me some idea and other members here on how we need to formulate that and get information pushed out. So I think a lot of that will come back in annexation to fix those areas. We can't fix Blythewood Farms, they're cutting the ground on homes, so, that will be hard, but we can fix the next neighborhood and subdivision coming in down the road.
Yep, thank you. And we are, by the way, in consultation with them to annex into the town.
Yes.
They've not said no. And originally they did, and then now we've talked to them again, so they're willing to entertain a conversation. That would assist us greatly. Yes, sir.
On this same subject and relative to a weakness that could be an opportunity, to me, one of the greatest weaknesses we have as a municipality is we have no control or management over water and sewer and other utilities. Without water and sewer, then, your doubts of vacant property and the opportunity for development kind of goes away. If you can have, so trying to find some say-so in working with either the private utility providers or, which was, we have a new one now that's, South Carolina Utilities, I think, is taking Palmetto over, a new group there. And I think there'll be a change of regime, I think, at the town of Winsboro. Anything we can do to strengthen those relationships, to give us kind of some stewardship and guidance and management of where they're putting utilities, could help as far as, growth control and even without the absence of already having annex and going to the point of annexing or whatever, so.
All right, thank you. Any other opportunities? Again, trying to narrow down over the next 3 years or so. Okay, lastly, threats. Yes. Yeah, thank you.
I think it's a good opportunity for the town to reestablish or establish a relationship with the county council.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like many of the council members, as well as yourself, have a good relationship. Mm-hmm. And you're absolutely on point. You got to have that relationship because they're privy to some information that, in fact, may help us, and resources that may help us. So I think this is probably the best opportunity since most of the council members of the districts that we're in, they care about what goes on in Blythewood, because I talk to them from time. I'm sure you do as well. Mm-hmm. And I think this is a unique opportunity to really embellish that particular relationship.
All right, thank you. Yep. I think I put that up there or over here, yeah. Yeah, new county partnerships, absolutely. So threats, and don't take this the wrong way, but this is something I always think about, is the city of Columbia moving up here to annex the areas outside of town. It's not to speak bad about Columbia, they're doing what they do, but that would threaten us because then that would close the door forever for any annexation. It would also bring a large tax burden to the citizens who live, say, in Crickentree or that area, Long Creek Plantation, what are the Columbia Country Club, all those areas. So Columbia annexation possibly. Mhm. Excellent. Okay. Threats to small town of Blythewood, yes, sir.
I think there's a lot of threats with urban sprawl, overdevelopment, lack of resources. A couple things that we haven't talked about. One is crime and also pollution. Thank you.
Right.
That's the environmental threats that we have when we come up to, this new industrial park. We still face the possibility of some environmental threats, not knowing what's going on, so.
Right, and we've echoed these. Again, these sometimes can fit in two categories, but the lack of utilities and the fact that we have to use IGAs, that's actually a threat to the town because we are dependent on two other municipalities for our water, and we are dependent on the county for our police protection and fire protection. So that would be a threat in that if ever someone or some entity said, we're going to do away with this, then Blythewood would have to stand on its own, and then you'd have to immediately come up with resources to provide those services. Any other threat?
What Mr. McHenrick said. We've missed opportunities, and not Blythewood Farms and Redgate are obviously things. I know when it came, census was coming here in 2020, and they said, it's important what you get from your millage and your allocations from the government. And my answer to them was, the last time we did it is 2010. We're at 2020. We're exponentially been encroached upon in these last 10 years. I shudder to think what it's going to be the next. And land is, and annexation can take care of a lot of that. Again, that's a double-edged sword. Be careful what you ask for. But protecting your borders is important. And to add to what you said there, Mayor Bailey, was Richland County, but parts of Blythewood are in Fairfield County. So we can't miss that boat as well. So the cooperation between the governments is opportunities and threats, yes. Okay.
Okay.
If I may, Mr. Hastrock and I have been working together on the contracts for the park and the manor and that kind of thing. And it's been really enlightening to me how much work you do, and I want to thank you for that. But also in speaking with him, finding out about things that happen on our properties. When you were talking about crime, I thought you were going to get into it a little bit. But when we're looking at our plan for the next couple of years and our budget, I think there were some things that you had brought up to me that may be helpful for people to hear so far as the access to the park, the people coming in at 4:30 in the morning, those kinds of things that I think from a crime standpoint, we had talked about security. Did you want to talk about that at all, or do you think that?
Sure, absolutely. Thanks for reminding me. Well, obviously, we, and Mr. McLean also addressed the issue. The crime, the vandalism, the issues that we're having in the town. We don't have a police force, but we do rely on the county and the substation here. They can't be here all the time, but we have proposed a couple of ideas that after this session will become one of the objectives, if that becomes our vision, to have a safe community, which we should, is to pay an off-duty police officer to be here, possibly, through the hours of darkness, To control the access to the park, Mr. Hasrock and I have already spoken. We have gates that we close, but we leave the main gate open because you have Don Russo's businesses there. People come in and out until maybe 9, 10 o'clock at night. But even then, if we come forward to where the island begins, right across from the farmer's market field, so you can still have access to his business, and we put gates that we close every evening and then we put up a do not trespass, or you will be trespassing. You know, like the city of Columbia does it, every municipality has a sign, says park closes at dusk. If you're still here, you're subject to a fine or whatever the case may be, a legal requirement that you can't be in there after dusk, and the gate is locked. So you would be trespassing if you bring those loud trucks in here and try to tear our fields up, so to speak. Also, I'm meeting next week with a retired major. She comes here with a group. I believe they live in Cobblestone. I'm not exactly sure. But they come here every morning, 5:30, 6 a.m. They walk together, and she says that they have been harassed in here before. People in the hours of darkness yelling at them, trying to approach them. So she doesn't feel safe. So I'm meeting with them next week to talk about what we can do, and I'm going to get Steve with me also. You know, we do have cameras in the park, so we can look after the fact and see cars being broken into, people vandalizing the fields, whatever. But the bottom line is we have to come up with creative ideas to do this because it's resource intensive to pay personnel. We may hire just a security company, like one that mans the gate at Cobblestone, for instance, and pay that fee and have them come here. And what they will do is just be an alert system, obviously. They won't carry pistols and badges, but they can call the authorities when they see something going awry here in the park, or early in the morning when folks want to just come and have a nice, healthy walk and they're being harassed by people who are ne'er-do-wells, so to speak. So, I beg your pardon? Yes, well, not prosecuted, but we have gone to mediation and public restitution. So I guess I would ask Ms. Burnett to cover that legal part, but not going to jail, but paying a fine and doing public service because most of these are kids, young kids under the age of 18. We get with their families. Steve does a good job of this. We do want to set up a formal mediation board, because right now the magistrate, Judge Hightower, we pay a fee whenever they have to adjudicate cases on behalf of the municipality. We do have, and by law, we can have our own municipal judge. I don't see a need for that right now. Maybe in the future we will. So that she performs those services, legal services for us, and it's easier to mediate when you're talking about teenagers just out here acting stupid, and make them pay a fee and make them come out and do public service and seed the park and clean the park. But did you want to add on to that, ma'am?
Thank you. One thing that Mr. Hasrock and I talked about, and I think you and I have as well, there was a program that I was involved with as an attorney, and it actually was over in Lexington. It worked very well, and it was kind of a pretrial intervention for minors that this was their first offense, or something where we're trying to keep them from getting into the system. And we had people that volunteered to take a class to learn how to be, I'll put it in quotes, a judge, but you're not really a judge, you're a mediator. And you sit with the person who was offended by whatever it was. In our case, it would be the town. We could also extend this even for the citizenry if it's by volunteer work, I think. And then the person who is trained would, basically, I would talk to those kids until they started crying. And once they get to the point where they recognize the gravity of what they'd done, then we would come up with a restitution plan, whether it was, and I believe Mr. Hasrock is really good at this, and working with them to have them cleaning up in our parks or whatever it might be that they need to do. Writing letters of apology, performing community service. A lot of times I would have them go work at a vet's office to where they're helping animals, whatever those things might be, but an intervention so that we're building strong bonds with the community and helping the youth of the community grow in a way where they're seeing how what they do impacts others. I think that could be a program that we could work towards. Mr. Hasrock and I have talked about, are we there yet? Is there enough of this that we want to create that kind of a new committee kind of thing? And I don't know the answer to that, but I do think it's a great way for Blythewood to grow as we're getting more and more houses more and more young families that have more and more teenagers. So that's where we are on that at this point. Is it's Mr. Hasselrock works with me and to have an agreement that they sign of what they will do. Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And we're certainly, when I talk to them, this group next week, we're going to. Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that's a really good point, and the program that I was involved with, we had the ability as the mediator to, and sometimes it's not even the kid, the problem really is the parents. And so when I would see that all I was doing was enabling this, I would say, you know what, I'm stopping this and we're just gonna let a judge make this decision for you all, because I don't believe that anybody at this table is taking this seriously enough. And to have that authority to do that, and they don't get a second chance to come back to this program again. They have to then go through the court system. So I believe that you know, there has to be people that are involved with that type of a program that have some discernment. Usually people that have been around the block a few times that can see this is going to work or this isn't going to be helpful in this situation. But when it comes to anyone that is physically harming another person, I don't think that would fall within the parameters of what we're talking about,
Right.
Whether it's assault or battery. And we've talked about that in the park and the concern for that. And I can say, just for myself, that I don't feel comfortable on the weekends. There's a contingency of young men in their trucks with blaring music that they're not approachable to even tell them what they're playing isn't even appropriate with kids around. And so how do we address that? Because I don't feel comfortable walking through little wooded areas with that, those
Right.
types of people there. So that is a problem for the county.
Can I add something?
Please, go ahead, sir.
So, I think this will probably fit more as an opportunity. But to forward thinking to creating a park ranger type situation, if you're looking at wanting to do a sports complex in other areas, then this will be something great that you can piggyback up off of. Didn't want to bring it up because I really wanted to bring it up to council.
No,
in a later
this
session,
is a great opportunity.
But I
Yeah.
think, you know, a park ranger concept is something to go ahead and start.
Yep, whatever you call it.
Internally, where we have more control and not just, you know, security officer is great. But I think that we could work with our partners to leverage a little bit more and give a little bit more authority to whoever is out here patrolling instead of running back to call for help. They are more trained and equipped to assist because we don't want to run into that situation after the fact. When a woman is approached or something walking through these trails, we have someone that's out here constantly walking and able to help. Also, too, we might want to consider putting some call boxes up along the trail. So if you have an issue, whether it's a law enforcement or medical, somebody can have a medical emergency walking these trails out here. So if you pull that box, they know where that box is located and send help. So just a little bit forward thinking instead of the now, as Mr. McKendrick said, we think of now. That's down the line that other things can happen also. Yes.
That's right, absolutely. Safety, security, the top priorities. Yep. So we will certainly take that back very soon to make a decision on how we're going to approach this. Okay, any other threats to Blythewood?
Mr. Mayor, there's always the financial threat.
Financial, yeah, okay.
I mean, you know, if we have a downturn in the economy, since Blythewood is solely reliant on business license, H-tax, permitting, get a couple of down years, a few businesses close up shop, could seriously hurt the town's budget.
Absolutely.
It's always a
That's
threat.
Right, and we're posed for that now based on the COVID crisis. Businesses were closed for a period of time. When you don't have businesses, you don't have hospitality income, you don't have that accommodations income from the hotels that were closed. So we budgeted for a shortfall this coming fiscal year based on last year's loss of activity. So you got to plan for that threat. That's a great point. Okay, now, of course, go ahead, Steve, please.
This has already been touched on, but I do see a threat as lack of citizen involvement
Okay, that's fine.
in the decision-making process and the plans that the town has.
Okay, we're duly noted. Now we want to quickly develop a mission statement. If somebody were to ask you, what is the mission of Blythewood? Not the vision, not what we want to be. What is it that this municipality does and why do we exist? I'm not going to write it out in narrative form, but I'll write bullets as y'all talk to me about it. Do we provide services for citizens in Blythewood? We provide building permits. We provide safety inspections. We provide, we don't do recreation in the park, yeah, I guess. So I have to include some type of service statement in our mission statement. Now, again, a mission it never changes. The mission of Blythewood will be the same from now on. The vision is what changes. What you want to be, where you want to go. But what you're doing on a day-to-day basis as a municipality is your mission. But that's the foundation for what we do. So provide recreation and business services to the public in a safe and effective manner, something like that. You want to, because we want to ensure safety. Let's just write that down. Safety. But you got to be careful. We don't provide safety because we don't have a police force yet. We might have a park ranger force soon when we talk.
It's a start.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Sure.
I think you can add environmental in the
Okay.
mission too.
A safe, clean,
Clean environment,
environmentally friendly.
green.
I'm sorry? Attractive,
Family friendly.
diverse. What was that you said, Sloan?
Family friendly.
Family.
And add something in there about veterans too.
Okay.
Be honoring our past, but looking to the future.
Okay.
You know, Blythewood has a rich history. You got to have something in there that, you know, that we recognize Blythewood's rich history and good or bad. I mean, but it's there, and then we need to recognize that history, but always plan to the future.
Right. That's great. Yeah, we do honor veterans. We do honor our founders, so to speak, here in the Blythewood area, with museums, keeping the history alive. Go ahead. So what, say it again? Efficiency. Anything else belongs in our foundation, our mission. And I'll come up with a draft way, me and the board members, and we'll send this back out. Yes? Okay.
You know, we haven't really touched on this before, but it's something that I have felt in Blythewood for, I'm not even going to say how old I am, how many years. But we're integrated. And all of these things must be integrated. But even when we're talking about from the things that polarize our society in general, for us to be a protective home place that nurtures all the sections of our of who Blythewood is, so that we don't become that divided. And I think we do a pretty good job of that, but I think it's something we have to continue to be cognizant of to maintain that going forward as we get bigger.
Mhm. Okay. Responsive, okay. You said quality of life, right. Nurture and preserve quality of life, be responsive,
I'd also like to say we act in an ethical manner.
ethical, okay. And we'll get to that if we have time in the end, the values, but yeah, definitely. Okay. Okay. Proactive, another way to say that, right? Forward thinking. Yeah, progressive, right, okay. Yep. Vision, okay, well, we're gonna get to vision, but yes, ma'am, I'll write it down. Visionary, being progressive, leaning ahead, focusing on efficient services, responsive, accountable, ethical, making a town that's more attractive, diverse, progressive, environmentally friendly, clean, safe. That's great. Right. That's, yeah, I think I put honor the past, and what I meant, honor our past, like Eddie said. We, the African-American high school, the gymnasium, we have preserved that. Hopefully, and talking with Larry and his group of nonprofit volunteers, make that our civic center possibly in the future. We still got to talk about this, but have that be a hub of activity, not just coming to Doco Manor all the time, which we enjoy, and we invite people to do that. But we also should go to the old gymnasium and celebrate that history. So yes, we certainly do that. The Historical Society has done yeoman's work. The bar has done great jobs looking at historical features, putting them on the state list, and we can do more of that. I mean, we certainly can. Before they all get sold and torn down for a grocery store. Yeah, exactly. Anybody else? And so lastly will be the vision. And this, of course, your vision leads to the objectives, which were in that newspaper, and hopefully we can pull them up here today and find out the big ones. But what is the vision of Blythewood for the next 2 years? I know when I was asked that as a candidate for mayor, my answer was very similar to what you all just said, to be a visionary municipality that has a vibrant historical society and has traffic that matches our growth and provides opportunities for everyone in the community, and also is the hub of activity for monthly events in our new amphitheater and park. In the past, and of course, Mayor Bailey remembers this, Mayor Ross remembers it, there were more people against building this place where we stand today than there were for it. It took a lot of courage, it took a lot of character for the mayor and council to push forward with this idea in the face of that restraint. And now look at it. Everybody loves it. And now, not only that, but people call me all the time and say, why aren't you doing more in the park, Mayor? You know, I'm going to be home next weekend. Y'all don't have anything going on, which is, I'm happy to hear that, because one of my goals when I took over and started assessing things was we need one big event in the park / amphitheater every month. So when people call Jonna and say, hey, I just moved here, and she would just talk to me at the break about this, 10 or 15 people call her all the time and say, I just moved up here. What's going on in Blythewood this weekend or this coming month? Because I don't want to drive all the way to Columbia every weekend or up to Charlotte. So people do want to know. And if you look on the website when you get a chance, I put a mayor's welcome letter. And on there, I listed the events. So when people move here and they go and read that letter, it'll talk a little bit about Blythewood, talk about our values, and then it talks about, here's what we do January through December. And all those events are listed there. I think there's 2 months, though, we don't have anything. And I want to say it's January. Anyway, I'll have to look. I'll have to pull the letter up in just a second as we get going and Mr. McHenrick starts talking. But, and that way we have one big event. Now, I'm not saying that's all we do. I'm saying that's what the town sponsors. If you want private entities come in here and do concerts, that's great. If you want Wounded Warriors to come here and do wheelchair rugby in our field, that's great. I mean, we'll certainly support that and do what we can to promote it. But I'm saying as far as the town goes, one big one a month. And if it's through the Chamber of Commerce with Oktoberfest and Rib Fest, if it's through Historical Society for Veterans Day and Purple Heart Day, on and on. So any organization's welcome to come here and put on events, and we will certainly promote it to draw people to Blythewood, so that we raise those revenues through hospitality and accommodations tax and be able to provide more events for people to stay and play in Blythewood. Yes, sir. Mm. Okay, vision for 2 to 3 years. We already talked about safety. Blythewood is a safe location to bring your families and friends to. So, and that, of course, this vision statement will trigger objectives, which means hire some kind of law enforcing body to assist us to maintain safety. And so, and then that will drive a decision by the council, and then we will put it on the calendar, and we will start that next quarter. And you'll start seeing a security guard or a park ranger or an off-duty sheriff right here in this hub to make sure. I know when Councilman Brock was first elected, he talked about having county, for public safety reasons, have a police officer at our regular meetings. Now, granted, we're a very friendly, we get upset from time to time with one another, but we're, you know, basically a good friend community, but you never know what could happen. Just like we didn't expect women to, and anybody for that matter, to walk in our park and have people harassing them, and, you know, so it's real, it's a reality of today. So, and their vision in the next 2 to 3 years is Blythewood has a reputation of being a very safe community and a very beautiful community, someone said before. One of my vision statements before, and of course, just not my idea, the council, a lot of them agree with this too, is that Blythewood is a hub of sports activity in the state of South Carolina, not just Richland County, but we build this massive modern sports complex, which, by the way, like I said before, has picnic shelters, has trails for walking, has places to bring your animals, in addition to football, softball, soccer, lacrosse, all that. And then we monetize it, as Mayor Bailey said before, and charge these travel teams who come here, and we become known as the hub. If you know folks who have teenagers and such and involved in sports, you talk about baseball and the high school baseball in the state of South Carolina, one of the 2 names will come out of the person's mouth when you talk about premier programs. Dutch Fork, and Blythewood. That's impressive. You capture that, and not to mention basketball, Westwood and Blythewood High are well-known throughout the state for their massive programs in those areas. Girls softball's on the rise. So an opportunity to capitalize on that reputation will bring people here. If you build it, they will come, people say, and it's often true when you talk about a sports complex like that. And again, location, that strength we talked about earlier, we're right in the middle of the state. Every major interstate leads to Blythewood. So beautiful, and I'll just put it up here. I mean, we don't have to agree, or y'all can tell me, no, we're not going to do it. But sports vision for our youth. What's another vision for 2 to 3 years in Blythewood? Sure. Go ahead.
No, I couldn't, I can't see. I
Oh,
was just saying is that annexation.
Safety, beautiful, sports, expand the core of the town park.
Okay.
Kind of a vision. And we'll make these into statements, but I don't want to do that for the sake of.
Annexation is one.
Annexation as a vision, that Blythewood has grown. Is there a number we can figure that out later?
We'll figure that out.
Okay.
I mean, we got several different options when it comes to annexation and that.
Yeah.
Don't think we have come to a consensus on which one we want to go.
Right, and it's going to be, and we'll talk about it later, but yeah, I mean, you can't run it like a military operation where we're going north and then we're going to turn east. It's got to be, this family wants to come in now. The Blythewood Farms developer has said he wants to annex. Let's do that now. Let's move down SC DMV down off Wilson Road exit 24. They want to come in, so on and so forth, and then we do it. But we'll probably need some help with that. We'll probably need some consultant or some advisor to come in here and assist us because it gets, and then you cross into legal issues. Voluntary is pretty easy as long as you're signing the right form saying you want to come in and your property touches the current Blythewood limit, you can come in. But then you got to go downtown and file your plats and change the borders like Councilman Griffin was talking about on the GIS maps. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Didn't we used to have a garden club years ago? Do we still have that? And I just don't, yeah. Okay, and then the butterfly park and, okay. All right, yep. Yes, well, Doco Film Festival. Councilman Griffin talked about this one of our council meetings about bringing that group back together and forming more of a, because right now you have Bravo Blythewood, you have the Doco Film Festival every year, and trying to standardize that and bring. Right. Yeah, I'd like to see some plays in the amphitheater too. That would be nice. Put some curtains up or something. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was just going to say the cultural piece.
Yeah.
Because we do have a lot of local artists and artisans, music. I think that's a growing part of Blythewood also, because I deal with a lot of these people from time to time.
Yeah, cultural events, right, beautification, cultural events, more than so than we have now. We do have, like I said, a presence, but it could obviously be more than that. Mm-hmm. Right. No, well, we will certainly assist with promoting and advertising and all that, but I would ask you to talk to Mr. Fry. They just started the Downtown Merchants Group again, and they just met for the first time, and that would be the core group. And those, of course, are the businesses that are right here in town. We have, over 400 members total in your organization? And the chamber, how many do you have? I thought I walked to every single one of them on the Volks March. I mean, but those are great ideas. And see, those are the things that will fulfill this vision, because when we added that Volks March, we had only about 10 or 12 people because, again, marketing was not there to let people know. And then we left the park, and you walk through and you go by every single little business in Blythewood all the way over to Food Line. You actually crossed 77. And when you went, you met the business owners or the employees who were working. They signed off on a little card for you. And then when you did the route and you met all these businesses and you came back, some of them gave out little trinkets and toys and things for you. And when you come back, you turn in your card to show you've been to all the businesses, and then you get a big prize to put on your Christmas tree or something. And hopefully we'll grow, and we'll do that again next year. And we'll get those businesses to come out and serve like hot chocolate or whatever and pay them for their service if we have to, and get the community out to see the businesses instead of just popping in Food Line on your way home every day. Come out and see the coffee shops. Come out and see the insurance agents that are right here. Anyway, sorry, didn't mean to get on my soapbox, but I'm excited about that. Yes, sir. Any other visions? Where do we want to be in 2 to 3 years?
I think there's also a religious and spiritual a component in Blythewood. We do have churches. With COVID, I had a lot of churches that I didn't know were in this community use the amphitheater for services and things like that. So.
Right. That's great. Visions for 2 to 3 years. Yes, sir. Yep. Yeah, the streetscape, the expansion, the Creech Road extension. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'll just add this one. The new comprehensive plan is fully enforced. And what I mean by that is, those of you who know, comprehensive planning, usually the state requires 10 years. People start looking at it after about 2 years because you've already made so many changes to it that it's not applicable anymore. Blythewood Road itself was our main thoroughfare. It was our town center district on the original comprehensive plan. We had policies in place that when you built your business, there was going to be a sidewalk all the way down Blythewood. You had to have your business right up on the sidewalk. Like imagine Ridgeway, downtown Ridgeway, or any older southern town. Double, 2-story, big windows, shop downstairs, rooms upstairs, and you had to park behind. So that was the original plan. Well, obviously, we quickly were overtaken with all the waivers our government issued to the companies that came in. Oh, well, I want to come in and bring my business, but I can't do that front thing. I got to have drive-through service for my Zaxby's, whatever the case may be. So we quickly went away with that comprehensive plan, and now it's obsolete. So we have to rewrite it. So what do we really want to do? Do we really want Creech Road extension to look like that? Then it's got to say it in the comprehensive plan. And then when folks come up to ask for variances of the planning commission, then they say, let's look at our plan. That's not what the citizens want. That's not what we have in place, so that's denied. You have to do it the way the citizens want it so we can have a walkable old southern feel. Then that's what we stick to. So that's the process we're going through now. And so I just say in 2 to 3 years, we have that done and we are enforcing it. In other words, we're not going back on what we say. We're going to keep that old town feel. If that's what they put in the new plan and we pass it, that's what we'll do. Mm-hmm. We do that quite often. And now, when you talk about individually, probably not, but like, for instance, when we come up with an idea or we wanted to pass a rule about itinerant vendors setting up shop anywhere in the town, not paying a business fee, unfair competition for our folks who do have brick and mortar shops. So that issue rose up. So when we said, okay, we've identified the problem, now, how do other small municipalities in the state do this? And our town administrator reaches out, their connections, they're all civil servants and public administrators. And then we get 3 or 4. Miss Sarah Lynn, I said, you know what we need? We need a Key to the Town program that's implemented more often, that we highlight and celebrate the accomplishments of Blythewood citizens. And she reached out to 3 or 4 or 5 municipalities and sent all their programs to me to look at. And so I'm a big believer in taking a best practice and making it your own. You know, some people call that plagiarism, but not writing, but good ideas. And if it works, that's great. And if we don't like that, it's too stringent or too strict, then we look at another town, or we. That's right, absolutely right. Don't, if the proven example is out there, why are you trying to do something else that's unproven? And of course, we do that with employee salaries. When we hire somebody, what is the ongoing wage now in the communities around us and similar size? So yes, ma'am, we do that quite often. Mm-hmm. Anybody else? And then, of course, we have the Municipal Association of South Carolina. We have the South Carolina Council of Governments, 2 entities that assist us in writing policies. They assist our planning commission in writing comprehensive plans. And those professionals who've done it for 20 years have done it in a whole lot of communities in the Southeast. Yep. Okay, any other visions? Blythewood in 2 to 3 years. So did I write down expand? I didn't. Go, please. Yes, sir. Larry.
In the correction on Blythewood Road, is there anything in this that's pertaining to straightening out Langford Road to run into Blythewood Road, which was previously discussed? Has that been linked to?
This is what I know. When South Carolina Department of Transportation came down here to look at our entire workload, all the projects we were looking at, they took the low-hanging fruit. They can expand Blythewood Road pretty easily as long as landowners will sell their rights away. They can extend Creech Road because the individual that owns all that is a single owner of all that, so that individual is the only one you got to work with to put a road through there. So that's not a problem. The traffic circles, that becomes a problem. Now you're taking a whole lot of private property to put that in there, so there's a lot of court battles and so on and so forth. When they looked at the railroad crossing, which is our biggest headache with traffic here in my opinion, well, also turning left off Community Road in front of Cobblestone is very difficult to do. They looked at what it would take to cross that. Well, railroads are mandated and regulated by federal government. So you basically the state would have to appeal to Congress. Congress would have to allow that to move that railroad crossing the 50 or 60 feet down where it needs to be to align those roads. You know, part 2, which nobody wants to hear about, is we buy up Destowe and tear it down and make that an exit. Well, that's an icon of Blythewood. That is one of the bedrocks of our history are Wilson Store and Destowe. And so if you tear that down, what are we saying about our values and our history? Even though it would be easy, now when people come around that curve, they can get in the right-hand lane and keep going. So SCDOT looked at that, but that one will take everyone's effort, the county, the state, and us. So we have not approached it other than the state saying this is a federally regulated service. Then how do you do it? Do you buy up the cigar shop store and tear it down? Do you buy up Kelly Ballantyne's All-State and tear it down because the road's got to go straight through there somewhere?
That's a historic building, too.
Yeah, and that's historic. I mean, so I don't want to say it's impossible. It's a very tough fight to make that happen as it stands right now.
Mr. Mayor,
yeah.
let me
Go
explain
ahead.
a little bit. You remember a few years ago, AECom did the project over there. Project engineer had it all laid out. It's doable if you got $20 million.
Right.
That's the whole thing. It's doable, but it's going to cost $20 million to do it. And if you open a railroad crossing, you have to shut a railroad crossing. That's the other thing you have to do. So you can't keep them both open side by side, but they've got a great presentation. AECom did it for us. Remember, we did the model of it and everything, did the
Yeah.
flyover.
Yep.
It's beautiful, but you gotta have $20 million to get it done.
Yeah, you can, it's on the town website too. You can go on there and they're
It's a
virtual.
beautiful rendition. I mean, it would work, but it's gonna take a lot of money.
Was
Yeah.
that about $100 million?
I thought he said it could be done for about 20 million.
20 million?
Yeah, I think that's what he said when they did the project, that project engineer. I think he said, Larry, that it would be about $20 million project, just for that little bit.
Yeah, Mr. McLean says in 10 years from now, it'll be 100 million. So if you're gonna do it, you better do it now. I agree. And that's state monies, as you know. What course we pay, that's our tax money.
Yeah.
So,
One other
Go
thing
ahead.
too, Larry, I did add that, potential project on the COGS list. So in 2 meetings ago, they went through a project list of roads and just that 10-year, list. So on top of everything that we already had, I did add Langford Road, that straightening there, on that project piece.
yeah, that would solve a lot of issues right there, for sure. Especially with 400 more houses coming out on Langford Road.
There's a situation with the new, subdivision that's coming up on Lake Road. There's already a traffic problem, so I think that should be something that we really need to take a look at, because everything bottlenecks as is, on Wilson Boulevard in Langford. So we're gonna need some type of, recess, to take some of that pressure off. So I think that should be one of the things that we look at real closely, as to how we're gonna take up one of the problems that we have, which is traffic.
Major problem. Okay, one more comment about vision. Any other comments, I mean? But the vision of Blythewood in 3 years is the park will have more, the park will have a farmer's market building in it? Splash pad. Okay, so the park
Completion.
master plan is further than it is now. How do we say that?
I mean, we can set a range, 25%, 50%.
Park has continued development. And I know I said we're gonna get with the board over here, the Delco Foundation, but yeah, because now we're talking about, are you gonna build a sound barrier? We keep talking about that to segregate the sound, leave it out there and not bring it in here when people are having weddings. And wrought iron fence around the whole thing with little ticket booths, so people just can't come willy-nilly when you have a paid event. They have to go through and show a ticket or buy a ticket. So that's a cost. The Farmers Market Pavilion, we call it, which, by the way, we had the architect's plan come, and then we had a bid for over $1 million, which no, I'd rather have a pole barn with a cement floor and a porta potty out back than $1 million for a building not even the size of this room. So what are we looking at? The bridge over I-77, we had, what was it, how much was that fence gonna be? Do y'all remember?
Which one?
$300,000, $390,000, what was it? The one, that wrought iron fence going across the
No,
bridge?
the DOT was like gonna pay 11 for chain
11,000
iron.
for
Yeah.
chain link.
And then the first bid, I think, came in around 100 and something, and we had to make up the difference, and then that
Yeah.
contractor backed out and it went to 140, 150,
Yeah.
something like that.
And this all adds to the beautification bullet here, but we still have to build a fence over the bridge, and we're deciding how much. DOT just wants to put a cyclone chain link fence up. Obviously, that does not go with our motif that we've invested heavily in with the black wrought iron signage and the black wrought iron lights that we have all throughout town, and we want to maintain that look across the bridge, and so that would be a vision that we have that done. And it's a legal issue too. If you're riding a bike and you hit the side of the rail, what happens? I mean, it ain't too far to go right over the edge. Yes, sir, Mr. Parley.
You know, as you have your list there, without accomplishing those goals without compromising the financial integrity of the town.
Yeah, right, absolutely, yeah. And we've debated that. You've heard us. If you have a fund balance for emergency purposes, we just went through an emergency, a pretty big one, and thank goodness that the folks who came before us had the foresight and discipline to set that aside and not spend everything you have. Because there will come times when you need it for whatever purpose, so. Any other visions? And speaking of vision, I was going to call Mr. McKendrick up, the chairman of the Planning Commission, to talk about his questionnaire and what he's going to gather the information from the public. And even those people who don't come to meetings and don't seemingly participate, they still can be reached out to with this questionnaire. Hopefully, they'll provide their feedback, and along with our marketing, they'll start seeing our meetings and start coming out more. So without further ado, Mr. McKendrick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let me give you an update from a Planning Commission standpoint on what we're doing. First of all, again, thank you, council, for doing this. We certainly appreciate you giving up your Saturday morning, as well as all the people who joined in for this discussion. The current comprehensive plan was written in 2015, and from a Planning Commission standpoint, Mr. Malcolm Gorge is heading up the rewrite of the Planning Commission. He is joining us on the live streaming. So Malcolm, we appreciate you joining us, and hope you and your wife are both safe. The comprehensive plan, you know, we're 6 years on the other side of the rewrite, so that's underway. We have engaged the COG, council is aware, to assist us with that. If you go back 5 additional years to 2010, that's when our last master plan was written. A lot of the same things we talked about here today were part of that master plan, and to Blythewood's credit, both Jim McLean and Mayor Bailey were part of the writing of that master plan, so thanks to them, they may have slipped out, but that speaks volumes to Blythewood that here we are in 2021, and 2 of the gentlemen that wrote a master plan in 2010 have comments that are hanging on the wall as we look forward to what will happen next. The strategic plan that the mayor is talking about has to dovetail with a comprehensive plan. We as a planning commission want to be on the same page. We desire to be on the same page with council and the other boards and commissions that operate at the pleasure of the council. Our questions as a planning commission would be, and we will certainly discuss these at our joint meeting, but how do we as a planning commission bridge the gap between the will of our citizens with the will of town council, who has ultimate say, and the current ordinances which town council has passed as a guiding principle for planning commission to conduct our business? I am repeatedly and often encouraged when I think of town council or attend the meetings and hear discussion. Planning commission is not an afterthought for our town council. Both of our mayor and Mr. Brock, our previous chairs of the planning commission, and Sloan Griffin was a member of planning commission. So I think it would be remiss to leave out the fact that obviously there's concern, and y'all pay attention to what the planning, all the planning that has gone into making Blythewood what it is today. As I said earlier, we have engaged the services of the COG to help in the write of the comp plan. And I'm going to use a few of the points that Mr. Cook brought to mind at the Planning Commission level before he left. We do not want the next comp plan to be a cookie-cutter comprehensive plan. Because if you look on websites around the state of South Carolina where the COG has been involved, and the COG is a fantastic resource. I'm not discounting that at all. But almost all the comprehensive plans look exactly the same. You can change the name, you can change the demographic a little bit and add a few points, key points here and there, but by and large, most comp plans look the same. We want our comprehensive plan to really, really mirror the discussions here today. Because if we're talking 2 or 3 years for this strategic plan, you're well into the next comprehensive plan. And with that, Commissioner George, myself, had a conversation with Mayor Franklin, and it is our desire to be lockstep with questionnaires, with the key points in the vision as the strategies that come out of today are reflected in the comprehensive plan. To do that, the COG has recommended that we put out a survey. We put a lot of thought into this. They gave us a template of a survey that we could use. After looking at the template, most of the questions were fairly common sense questions, and some of them very leading, as in anybody could look at the survey and say, okay, there's kind of a foregone conclusion to the answers that are coming out of this. Took a little bit of a different approach and did a much deeper dive on a survey about families. Why did you choose Blythewood? What is appealing about Blythewood? What has Blythewood done right, wrong? What are our next steps in Blythewood? Do you own property? Why did you choose Richland County? Because certainly Blythewood's in Richland County. And then these questions take a deep dive in some of those areas. For you and your family, what is important? Is your business located here? Do you have children involved with recreation? There are 30 different questions, and each question has a drill-down answer where you can pick one, and in some cases, multiple answers to those questions. It would be our hope, and we will certainly discuss this at length with council at our joint meeting, and hopefully that evening, the Planning Commission will move this forward and approve the survey. And with the help of Town Council, we would hope to get that to the stakeholders in Blythewood and be unified, which it would be our desire to encompass this strategic plan in that same survey. So not to confuse citizens, we're asking these questions, we want your input. I don't know how many times we heard today, how do you get citizens involved? And I think if we meet them where they're already involved, our citizens are involved. If you're a veteran, you pick those places and you're involved. If you're a member of a local church, you pick that church and you're involved. An HOA, I'm president of our HOA in Ashley Oaks 4 through 7, and believe me, if you're in that neighborhood and you want to be involved with the HOA, people are involved. So let's go find them where they're involved, and I think the mayor hit on most of these HOAs. Then I think we go to our boards and commissions, and we ask them to disseminate this survey within their ranks. Then you look at the Chamber of Commerce and all the businesses that are a member of chambers. Those people work and live in Blythewood. Churches, church memberships, ask them to disseminate this among their membership. And before you know it, we have the involvement we need, and we have more voices than 20 people coming here for a 3-hour strategic plan meeting, because Blythewood is better than the representation at this meeting today. No question. But it is finding them where they are currently involved. And when we do that, we have the answer to the question. And some of those questions, whether you're at a church filling out this survey or you're in an HOA filling out this survey, all those answers are valuable that lead back to the strategic planning for the next 3 years, but also the comprehensive plan for the next 10 years. So that's our desire as a planning commission. And I'll reiterate, what the planning commission does is tries to move forward the ordinances and the desire of our governing body, which is y'all. So when we have bumps in the road, it is when we deviate. And it may have not have been this council. A resident said, you go to Asheville and you see all signs in front of stores about the same level. There's none of these great big billboards, flashy billboards. Blythewood did a great job in our comprehensive plan and wanting to keep signage low. And for the most part, we did that. But because of a few situations, we skirted that and gave people reprieve. Well, that's where we have to, as a council and a planning commission, and small government in Blythewood, say this was the decision that was made. It may not fit the desire of an individual's personal business, but some businesses went to great expense to lower their signs before the deadline, where other businesses, they were let off the hook for, and I'm going to say for small town political reasons. We have to have the fortitude to say, If we're going to move Blythewood forward for the next generation and the generation after that, here's the planning that was done in 2015 that has to change for 2021, and the ordinances to support them. And let your commissions and your boards do that. Bring them back to council, and council say, yep, this is exactly what we talked about 4 years ago. That's why we're doing it. And I think with that, Blythewood will be moved in the right direction. So I can take any questions. We will have this survey printed for our meeting and emailed out to council before our joint meeting, which I think is February 1st.
Yeah, the first Monday
Yeah,
would be
February
February 1st,
1st.
yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay?
And
Any
by the way,
questions?
council members are invited to that. It's, Larry, you too. February 1st, the first Monday of every month, the planning commission meets. This will be our first quarterly joint session, if you can make it. We're not going to have a quorum or anything. We're just going to sit down and talk to the planning commission.
Rich, what's the method? Are you guys going to mail the survey out to residents or electronic or a combination of both? I know from being on the COG board, I know they redone their contract for certain services on doing surveys and things like that. So are you using the COG's contracted service to assist in that? Or is that something that we, the town, will pay for?
We'll answer that question. The sample survey the COG sent out, and Mr. Gorge could probably speak to this as well, but I believe the COG was going to initiate the survey. Now, we have certainly expanded that and changed the questions around, so I'm not sure how we proceed. But we would certainly look at every avenue to get this survey out, whether it's mail, electronic, or some fashion of both.
And is your ideal of the survey just for the residents in our municipality or in the projected 29016?
I would love council's input on that. Certainly, it is Blythewood, the town, within the town limits of Blythewood. But when we're talking about annexing pieces of property, I would have no objection to going 29016 because there are a lot of annexation questions asked in the survey. So you may raise some more questions by saying somebody in 29016 over by Killian Road getting a survey about the town of Blythewood, but that's okay too.
That's definitely one thing we need to think of. There may be conflicting missions and goals of inside versus outside the town. And
If we go,
we have
zip
no
code.
authority to govern beyond our borders. So I don't know if surveying the community to try to get the mood of the town is the best idea, simply because if you had more outsiders respond than insiders.
Now
you
you're
may get
swaying our survey.
skewed
skewing our
results.
survey.
I would add on to what he just said, Councilman Brock. I would recommend you send it outside, but there's got to be a way to differentiate, a colored envelope or something.
Well, and
So
part
when
of
they
the,
respond back to you,
part of the answer to the survey is first question is where do you live? Are you inside or outside?
that's right, exactly. And see, that's good. And then so we can, when we put it in the database, because this is going to be our first opportunity to talk about annexation outside the
And we-
folks here in the town.
We may want to take this opportunity.
Yeah,
Certainly
and right.
annexation is part of the comprehensive plan. We just need to figure, and again, we've spoken a couple different times on looking forward. Don't be afraid to look forward. Well, part of that is annexation, which would be outside the town of
Right.
Blythewood.
And that's valuable input, because we can see right now what the feeling is, the overall feeling. And you can tell by area what the feeling is.
Sure, absolutely.
And I think too, if we're gonna spend the resources, if we're gonna put the finances into that, I think we could probably do a split survey, if you're, like you said, the first question I asked, are you in the town or, out the town? And depending on that answer,
There's where
you
your survey's
skip, it tells you,
Yeah.
if you say you're not in the town, then proceed to question number 12.
Correct.
And then it's, so you might want to, I know it's complicated, especially if it's a printed form. Electronic will take you straight there to the questions pertaining to you, so.
Which is also a difference with the first question. Do you live in the town of Blythewood?
Well, you got to be careful with that. A lot of people don't know if they do or not.
And
Yeah,
no,
go ahead.
That is correct.
Yeah. Right. Or when they come vote, yep. I mean, you can still let them answer it, but they may not know for
And,
sure.
you know, if you want to put feet to that, when a person intentionally gets in a vehicle and drives to a polling place and tries to vote, that's because they believe they live
That's right.
in a town. And I was at the polling station with all of y'all. Repeated, I mean, I can't tell you the number of people that came out and said, oh, it was great to see y'all today. I tried to vote for you. I thought I lived in Blythewood, but I don't. And that was the first time it really hit me of how many people intended on voting in a race they were concerned about and don't live in the town and didn't know it.
But indeed, they are a stakeholder, and
They
their
are a
input is
stakeholder.
valuable. Yes.
And
yes.
those are the people we want that information.
Right, that's exactly right.
Yeah, very, very good point, Sloan, and would love your survey expertise on getting this right.
If you send it, well, whenever you send it out, I'll reach back out.
Okay.
But, and then you're opening that, do you do it by registered voter? Do you do it by tax record and property location? I mean, there's there are
absolutely.
various and sundry different ways you can do this. But if you do it by registered voter, you're only going to get half the people. And then so, because, probably half of them are not registered. Well, maybe this year they were, I don't know. But you know what I'm
again-
saying, not everybody's registered to
No,
vote.
exactly, but if
Unless
we,
they're military or
if
whatever.
we attack it like, Mr. Mayor, you recommended, and I love the idea of going and find people where they're involved now. And to say that Blythewood's not involved, when people tell me that, that's not an accurate statement. I mean, our former mayor left halfway through a strategic meeting that he's a stakeholder here, but he didn't want to miss a tea time.
Yeah.
There's a whole community of guys that
Right.
don't want to miss their tea time.
And it's a Saturday, and we debated, do we do this on an evening or on a Saturday?
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
Or yeah, I even said Sunday afternoon after church. People coming in, but
No, we've got playoff games.
that's right. What time is that? That's tomorrow, right?
That's tomorrow. Hey, I have one more thing to say about this that I think may help it get a response back, and this is just from my years of getting feedback from people. When I look at the things the town has written or what we put out there, it's very sophisticated for the average person. And I have people ask me, well, what does this mean, or what does that mean? And when you all are speaking, they're going to just be writing down acronyms, or what does that mean, or what. And when you're doing this survey, if I read it and it started sounding really legalistic, I would go, I don't have the time for
You're
this.
checking out, yeah.
So when you're talking about meeting people where they are, it also has to be how can they hear what you're asking them? So the way that you make your questions, like on my sheet, after I've had anybody come in my office, I'll ask them to fill out an evaluation for me. So, and what do I do to get that back? So I'll put, this is very important to me. I want to hear this.
Right.
So any way that you can make it in the kind of language that people would feel comfortable to respond to it. And I know that may take away some of the effectiveness of it from the ability to use that information, but I think we would get more information back from people.
And probably more accurate information. Yeah,
Right.
totally agree. Totally agree. When you look at the master plan that's on the town's website from 2010, they use this is the steps they use. The strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities. And that's how it's broken down on that master plan. It's amazing if you have, and that was one of the questions on the survey, is have you read the town's comprehensive plan from 2015, and have you read the master plan from 2010? Do you attend local government meetings? Those are some of the questions, because we need to know that. I also believe that once the surveys are complete, we have to give our citizens assurance that that survey are the guiding principles that set a strategic plan for 3 years and a comprehensive plan for 10. And then march to the beat of that drum. Because then, when we're all, hopefully there'll be a couple of us in the audience, but 15 years from now when they're doing this again, then the leadership can say, not only was there a comprehensive plan done in 2021, but here's how we followed it, and here's how we followed the strategic plan. And if we do that, it will pay dividends. Yes, it's hard along the way, because in some cases, you're telling citizens either no or not now. But it pays dividends if we follow what we say we're going to do.
You know, one good idea, and I think we all were in the municipal class this week, some portion A or B, but I think it's the city of Rock Hill that they illustrated on their agenda items, that they mirror it towards the objectives. So this item meets objective 1A that links back to beautification. And then you can follow that trail all the way back to a survey. So it'll be a more work on staff, and I definitely don't want to do that. But
I'll help
I
them with
think,
that.
you know, but I think that'll be an accountability piece to hold us to that.
Right. Like I said in the opening remarks, there's nothing we should be doing as an elected body that is not talked about in that plan. You're pulling the rope in the right direction. We could all be working on different things, that's fine, but each one of us needs to tie back to an objective which meets that vision of Blythewood.
And when we as a PC, a planning commission, sidestep the comprehensive plan, we need to recognize it, say why we're doing it, and say we're doing it because we believe it's ultimately the will of Blythewood, and passing that on to the council. So then when council's voting on it, same thing. You can say this sidesteps the strategic plan or the comprehensive plan, and here's why it sidesteps it, because who thought we would be wearing masks everywhere we're going right now? I mean, just use 2020 as an example. That sidestepped a whole lot. So there are deviations. It is a fluid document, but it has to be your guiding principles. Last thing for me is, Mr. Gorge asked me to remind you again, Mr. Mayor, that the Transportation Penny
Yes.
Advisory Committee, he's on there. His term's expiring, so don't forget
5th of February, right.
to reappoint.
Yep, thank you, thank you.
Again, thank y'all for your time on a Saturday.
Thank you, Rich. Yeah, and I'll cover that briefly. Malcolm Gorge has served for the past 5 years as this body's representative to the Richland County Penny Tax Committee. His term ends on February 5th, so we have to decide, not today, but soon, whom we want to appoint to replace him, because he doesn't want to serve another term.
Was he doing both the COG and the penny tax to kind of coincide?
Yep. But we can talk about it later, and we'll, probably February 1st meeting, I'll have one action item, and it'll be appoint a representative to the, if that suit council.
So then we would need a quorum.
Oh, yeah, good point, now that I just thought about that, because, yep. So we would just have, it would be a special call meeting, joint planning session, and we would appoint the person and then turn it over to the planning commission or whatever. Okay. So I'll work on that. Well, that concludes the exercise. I think we have enough to think about. I have a lot to write, get it into some coherent document that we can then send back out with the big words draft on the top to provide any other feedback that we may have after this meeting or any other ideas that you may have. But if you'll look at that newspaper that came out and had the 25 items, again, those are just ideas. Some of them are very large that will take longer, like the sports complex, the road widenings. Those will go on there because we will still spend our money, time, and sweat and tears to attack those through county and through state with this body and engaging. We will reach out to HOA. We will assist the planning commission in this survey because that's a big deal. Getting that input is huge for the citizens who don't normally get an opportunity to come up here, but they can still provide it in writing to us and we can action off of that. Okay, at this time, I'll ask the council members if they have any closing remarks. Councilman Brock?
No, sir.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
No, sir.
Motion to adjourn?
Well, Larry, any comments from you, sir?
Yes, I just want to say I'd like to thank everybody who came out to give their opinion and their ideas of where the town should go. I think that's very, very important for the council to know where you're going. Now that we have all of these things, it now takes a cooperative contribution from each and every one of us to make this come to fruition. Thank you very much for the day, and back to you.
All right, so the next meeting of this body will be February 1st at 7 p.m.? Do y'all meet at 7 right here?
We meet at 6.
Right here? Okay, February 1st at 6 PM, we'll have a joint session between the town council and the planning commission right here in this Doco Manor.
Monday. We meet on Monday.
And that's correct. The regular monthly meeting of the town council meeting for January, I'm ahead of myself, is this Monday evening here at 7 PM. So 25th of January, 7 PM here, town council meeting. 1 February, 6 PM here, joint session. Any other comments? Any open citizen comment? I apologize before we adjourn. Anyone? Okay.
The whole 29016?
Right.
But you get no answer whatsoever about annexation of the target area that you're looking at without doing that.
Right.
And I don't know the mechanics, whether you plan on doing it mailing.
Yeah.
Mailing.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it. Yeah, we got to do it. It should be a
electronically.
combination.
There's got to be a method, yeah.
Like some people will go online and do it, some people can do it easily, or some people want that mail, they want that paper in the mail. So do it through the newspaper and refer people through the newspaper to our website to do it. So we got much to talk about there. Thank you, Phil. All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn? It's been probably a motion and seconded to adjourn. Any further comments, discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it.
Changes, you just let me know, and I can send you another invite to the meeting. Thank you. Yes, sir. Good seeing you. Good seeing you on Monday. Good seeing you too. See you Monday.